All right. Is this working? Can I see myself somewhere else? Let's maybe go here. All right. We're watching me. Watch me. Weird. Groovy. All right. So, what are we going to build today? What we're going to build, I probably maybe should wait a few minutes. I'm not even sure where the chat is. If there is a chat, can somebody say something somewhere to let me know that this is actually working? Maybe I should open this over here. Mm. Okay. Somebody said hello. Let me mute myself, I guess. If you can hear me and see me, give me like a fire emoji or a panda emoji, a unicorn emoji or something. You can hear me. Hi. The chat isn't a last name in the chat. Groovy. All right, I can see the chat. It's perfect. Amazing. All right, so what I want to build today is going to be a way to track clicks on YouTube videos. So there are tons and tons of pieces of software out there that already do this. One of which is called RevTrack, I think it's called. And with RevTrack, they track where somebody clicked on a link below a YouTube video, if they've gone to your website, and then if they've booked a call. And why am I doing this? Well, I create a lot of videos on YouTube, and sometimes I get a lot of views, but not a lot of leads. And I'm more interested in leads and less in views. So if I can create a tracker that tells me exactly which videos derive the most leads, then I'll create more of those types of videos to get those types of viewers. And that is my philosophy. So I'm not sure if we'll get it done today, but at least we shall get started. And there's a few things I want to do. First, I want to explain what I'm building, and I've already kind of explained that, but I'm going to explain the tools we're going to use because I'm not sure if everybody here is aware of different vibe coding tools. So we're going to start with a tool called Cursor, and I've already done some prep prior to us jumping on the chat, which I'll walk you through in a second. So we're going to use Cursor as the main tool we're going to code with. So we're actually going to code this application from scratch. And inside of Cursor, there's two different things we're mainly going to focus on. So one is a baked-in AI that I can talk to that's going to code on my behalf inside of Cursor. So that's the native tool. And with that, I'm probably going to use a model called Sonnet 4, which is from Anthropic, which is the company that created Claude. So if you've heard of Claude, then you probably know what Sonnet 4 is. The other one is going to be Codex. So Codex is a specific model from OpenAI, so the company that created ChatGPT. They created a model a while back called Codex, but recently it's gotten really good, and I've had a chance to build with it quite a bit, but I've not been able to build with this model specifically from beginning to end for a full application. So I want to give that a go and see how it performs. And so I said that I've done some work prior, and I have. So let's show you what that work is. And I promise I will look at the chat and answer questions if there are questions. I just want to make sure that we get started on this, and then both the good and the bad thing about vibe coding or building with AI is there's a lot of waiting in between. So now that I have a chat, I can answer questions and talk to you. So inside of this folder, I'm going to open up Cursor so you can see what it looks like, and I'll kind of give you a lay of the land of what this is, so you're not kind of like, what are you doing, man? All right, so let me open up a few things. So what is this? What is the screen you're looking at? Well, this screen is Cursor. So this is called an IDE, so something that you develop inside of when you're building applications. And within this IDE, we're going to spend most of our, you can kind of think of an IDE as like Google Docs for code. And in here, we have a few things I'm going to call out. So on this side is where all of our folders are going to sit and files are going to sit. So this is kind of like our desktop. This is where all the files and folders sit. And on the center portion here, this whole section here is where all the code's going to sit. So right now we're looking at Markdown, which is just a form of text. But this is going to be where the code sits. And then on this side is where a lot of the, oh, didn't mean to do that. This is where all the AI sits. So this is the AI chat that we're going to use. And we're going to spend most of our time either here, or there's also going to be another AI chat we can use from OpenAI for Codex on this side. So we're going to spend most of our time on the left or the right side, depending on which AI we're talking to. Groovy. With that said, we have an idea what this is. I guess some quick tips on this before I start building is when using Cursor in the chat, I recommend using agent mode, which means the AI is going to take many actions on your behalf without you having to intervene. And then right here is where you can select the model that you're going to use. Like I said, we're probably going to use Sonnet 4 most of the time, and the reason we're going to use Sonnet 4 is that it's a good model. It's much better than many of the other models when it comes to this specific tool. The reason it's good is two reasons. One is it follows instructions very well. We're going to give it very specific instructions. And the other reason is that it calls tools effectively over a long period of time. So there's certain models that are good at calling tools, and that's relevant for us because it needs to write code, it needs to change things, it needs to do stuff on our computer. And we want to make sure that the intelligence of that model sustains over time as it calls more tools. Oftentimes with AI is that it'll call a bunch of tools and the intelligence decays over time. So it kind of falls, down and to the right. We don't want that. We want the model to work well. And on the left-hand side, I'll quickly show you where Codex is. So if I click this little button here that looks like the OpenAI logo or ChatGPT, it's going to open up Codex, and then here you have a bunch of stuff. So down here for auto context, actually, what does that do? That's new. Include recent files in other contexts. Cool. So it pulls in recent context, which is fun. I wanted to show you these two things. So agent mode and agent full access. So I'm probably going to do agent full access because that's going to allow it to basically run in YOLO mode. It's going to be able to edit a bunch of stuff without me intervening. I recommend if you've not vibe coded before, you should keep it probably in agent mode. So it asks you for permission to do things. The reason being is that you want to learn as to what the AI is doing along the way. And since I've probably built, I don't know, 25 to 30 applications by this time. I've done plenty of that. So I'm going to use full access for that. And then for Codex, I'm going to set this to GPT Codex high. And high refers to the reasoning effort. So how much effort is the AI going to put into each step? And I'm going to start with high. If that takes too long, then I might switch it down to medium or low, or I might go back and forth between Sonnet on the right-hand side and Codex on the left. All right, I'm going to pause for a second and see if there are any questions and people saying stuff here. All right, so I can't scroll up, which is not cool. Oh, there we go. I'm also going to eat my lunch too. So that's the beauty of live is you get to watch me eat lunch. All right, so I don't have many questions. You say you can see, you can hear me, which is good. Can you discuss building XR Unity app? XR Unity. We're going to build this app today because that's the plan. But I'd have to Google. I don't even know what XR Unity is. It must be some sort of like gaming thing. Unity engine. All right. So when you're building an application through the process that I'm going to show you, this process is called, I don't really know what it's called, but it's a process that I've used and other people use as well. And you have three fundamental documents that are going to act as the guiding, I guess, North Star to building the application. And these three guiding documents that we're going to use that we've already created is going to be the spec, the blueprint, and then the to-dos. So each of these documents have a certain purpose. So as for the specification, this contains the what. So what are we trying to build? And this is conveyed in a way that a developer understands. And the important thing about all these documents is AI created all of these. I didn't create any of these, AI created them. So specification's the what. The blueprint is going to be the how. So how are we going to build what we've decided to build previously? So the how. And then finally we have the to-dos, and this is going to act as like a roadmap. And we need this roadmap because the context window for AI is limited. So oftentimes the context fills up and the AI forgets what we're working on. So if we have some sort of macro roadmap that the AI can reference on a consistent basis, it knows what's been done and it knows what we're going to build next. So this is what the roadmap's going to be used for. And the two documents we're going to use most throughout the entire process is going to be the blueprint and the roadmap, because the blueprint actually has a series of prompts that we're going to copy and paste into AI and have it build it. And we're just going to basically do a lot of back and forth copying and pasting with this blueprint. And then after it's finished a feature that it's built, we're then going to have it update the roadmap. After it's updated the roadmap, we're then going to go back to another blueprint item and then kind of iterate back and forth. So those are the three documents. And if I go back here, you can see the to-dos are here. So this is the to-do document. And here you can see we have different phases. So we have project 0, or the step 0, which is the project setup. We have step 1, step 2, step 3, so 3.1, 3.2, 4, etc. These are all the steps in the to-dos. These are the checkboxes that the AI will check off. So it knows when it references in the future, when it has a fresh context window and it can't remember what it's done, it can refer to this to-do document, see exactly what's been done and what's next. And for the blueprint, this document here, if we go to the top, it's going to be quite hefty and long, but it basically walks through all the different steps of how to build this. And if I scroll down to, I think like halfway through here, this is where these are where the prompts start. So we're actually basically going to copy out these prompts, and we're going to feed these prompts into the chat, and the AI is going to work on our behalf to ensure that it's building this application effectively. Usually what I'll do is I'll paste it in and then read, or sometimes read and then paste, depending on what the task is. But since I'm assuming this is probably just project setup, I will refer to the to-dos in the blueprint to get this started. So to get started, I'm going to copy this from here. I'm going to paste it into the codex side, because like I said, I want to try using codex a bit more. And then I'm also going to at to do. So if you do at, you can at files in your folders. So if I at and I type to do, then it allows me to add that file. When you add the file, that's putting it into the context of the AI, so it has access to that. So I'm referencing that, and the reason I'm referencing that is I want to let the AI know that there is a step 0. I'm just going to say do both. So I paste that in and let it do its thing. And while that works, I'm going to go back over here and see if there are any questions. All right, you should ask me questions while the AI does its work. Or we're going to sit here in silence. You can watch me eat. I mean, you can ask questions unrelated to vibe coding. So if you have questions around ChatGPT, Claude, anything AI related, I'm happy to answer. All right, got some questions. Dope. So, is there a place where I can download those files for use? So, not really. And I mean, I could make these accessible if you wanted them, but these files are for this specific project I'm building, so I'm not sure you'd want those files. What I'd recommend instead is learning the process itself to how did I build the files. So I have a video. I have a ton of videos on this topic, but I think the most recent video, um, or at least one that talks about the process in depth, planned chaos. So this one here, that's planned chaos video. I recommend going and looking at that video. That talks through the exact process of how I built this, and the AI interview involved. So you can build these 3 documents for any project you want to build. So that's that question. Talk about projects with lots of conversations. Does the model grow dumber? So the model does grow dumber if the conversation is ongoing for too long, and you don't refresh it effectively. So for instance, this doesn't have a percentage counter, but this one does. So if I was having a conversation on the right hand side with Sonnet, there's usually a little percentage here, and you'll see it later if you stick around. And usually what I'll do is if it gets above, I'd say 75%, which means that's how full the context window is, I'll start a fresh conversation and I'll have the AI summarize everything above that's happened to ensure that when I pass it off to a new conversation, it will know what happened and it'll be able to kind of pick up where the other one dropped off. But I'll still have a fresh context window that's not filled. So it's allowing me to avoid the degradation of intelligence from AI if the context window gets too full from a run-on conversation. And also, a lot of these tools now have auto compaction, which means they're auto compacting conversations. So if I had this conversation on the right hand side ongoing indefinitely, it would continuously compact the conversation over time to try to make sure the intelligence doesn't degrade too far, but it would still degrade either way. So if you want to get more out of these tools, you want to start fresh conversations for every new feature you're building. Mm, yeah, no, I could share the files. Let me I'll make a note to myself to share the files with you. And actually, I probably just create a new repository right now. UTM. All right. Connect to this repository. Make sure you're connected to it, and then I want you to push all the code associated to this to the repository. All right. So what I just did there is I created a GitHub repo and used a dictation to communicate to the AI, just because it's faster, and I often do that for most of the things that I do with AI is I talk to it instead of type. And you can see we have two AIs going on right now. This is a little bit too much. But weirdly, for some reason, why is it? Hmm. Okay, cool. I was concerned there. I thought I was writing files into the chat, not into the folder. Well, that's not helpful. Hmm. I guess it is. All right. So what I'm going to do is, I think it's uh, Marano. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But that GitHub link right there is going to take you to the folder that I just pushed this to. There's a lot of folders and files in there that you can ignore. You just want to look for the 3 documents that are the markdown files. So that's going to be spec.md, blueprint.md, and to-dos.md. So those are the files you want as an example. Okie dokie. So this looks to have finished, and the goal was to initialize the repository. Configuration, create a bunch of empty folders. So what I'll do is I'll ask, it gives us something we can test with. So what I'm opening here is the terminal. So if I go to terminal at the top, go new terminal, it's going to open up a terminal here. That's where the folder is. And if I close that, keep this open, ideally, if we run that, it works. Or do I have to CD into something? Mm. Okay, so it told me to test to make sure that the folder structure was set up correctly, and I asked it to run it and decided not to. Or at least it did, and I didn't see the actual output, which is kind of a bummer. Wait, no, you can see it here. So if I click into this, I can see the output, and it said that it ran it, and it's happy with the output. Cool. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna ask it to update the to-dos. And the reason we're gonna do that is because we're gonna start a fresh conversation since it's finished step one. So if I close this and go up to step 1 and 0, it should mark those as complete. All right, so I just created another repository to push all the code to, so we can mark this final box off as done. So you can see that it marked all of these as done, and sometimes you might wonder, like, how do you know that this has been marked? You can see this like yellow bar on the side next to the numbers. This depicts that the fact that this has changed, and when you click in the bar, it shows you exactly what changed. So if you click that, you can see that the red has been deleted and the green has been added. Same thing for below. So you can see all the diffs between the original code base and what's been changed by the AI. Same thing applies here. So does it effectively keep track of the context across multiple conversations? Is the question. So for that question, it can based off the to-dos. So the AI itself isn't going to be able to sustain context across conversations, at least not to the quality that we would want it to. So what we have to do here is that's why we have to create these to-do documents, is because now when the AI works on the next step, it's going to come back to the to-dos and it's going to see that we've already checked off step 0, step 1, and then it's going to see that the very next step that we have left here in the to-dos is step 2. And it's going to know that this is the next step it needs to work on, both based off of what's on the to-dos, but also given off the prompt that I give it from the blueprint. So when I copy and paste the Supabase prompt, it's going to know to connect to the Supabase, all that stuff, which it's going to be a bit tricky doing all this live because I'm going to be sharing, hopefully not sharing secrets I shouldn't be sharing. Um, all right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start a new conversation because we're moving on to the second prompt. So I'm going to do this little pencil icon for new chat. And that's going to refresh the context basically. And I'm going to paste that in. And usually what I'll do is I'll link the documentation for the tool we're going to use. So if we're going to use Supabase for the backend, which is kind of like a fancy Excel where you can basically have a bunch of data behind your application, I want to share the docs with the AI so it knows how to use Supabase. And also I'm going to say, make sure any code that you write in relation to Supabase is based on the most up-to-date version of its API, and any of the code that you should actually do some extensive research prior to understand the API documentation for this tool, and then and only then start writing code based off of the prompt below. So I've given it instructions specifically like that because I want to ensure that it's not writing code incorrectly for the wrong API. Oftentimes with these models, is when you have them write code for a specific API or tool or something like that, it will write code for an older version of the SDK or the API. By doing that, you're going to have to run in circles and run into a bunch of errors, and it gets really frustrating and annoying. And that's why it's important to give it link it documentation, because it can go out and search that, and it also can understand what's most suitable for this specific code base in the API. All right. So answer that question. Any other questions? I guess question for everybody here. First off, where are you watching from? And also, like, what's your involvement with AI? Do you use it for work? Do you use it for fun? Both? How do you use it? All that stuff. All right. So one question on here. So right now I'm using VS Code, but I'm thinking about switching to Cursor. But I don't know if the $20 is worth it. Do you recommend it? How big is the usage limit? So for these models, these tools, $20 can get you. Oh, that's new. You see that? It's got an error. That's both interesting and also kind of annoying. And it doesn't even have the history. What? I wonder. All right. Well, that sucks. We're gonna do it again. We're gonna copy this in here. And we need to get the documentation again. Make sure you research the documentation associated to Supabase to ensure that any code that you write is up to date as of September 21st, 2025, and it's in line with what they expect for their latest APIs. Research it and then only code afterwards. All right. Hopefully it doesn't break again. That was weird. And also hopefully it doesn't like duplicate effort too. That's strange. Anyways, back to the question. So, is it worth it? So, worth it depends on your usage. So, if you're going to use this to build enterprise applications, I'd recommend getting the $100 or $200 plan per month. If you're just going to do it for hobbies and or maybe one application that's just a learning experience, yeah, I think 20 is fine. But also, you can get the best of, I mean, like this Codex on the left hand side, the tool I'm using here from OpenAI. This is based off of my ChatGPT subscription. And even with the $20 plan, you're going to get a lot of free usage based off of this tool because they're so generous in what they provide. So this is on the right hand side is Cursor. So this is the Cursor chat. If I wanted to use their AI, which I probably will use back and forth. On the left hand side is OpenAI. I pay for both, but you can use Codex inside of Cursor if you already have a ChatGPT subscription. If you don't want to pay for another Cursor subscription, and you kind of get all the benefits of what you would get with Cursor. All right. So DJ says, I'm a beginner. Where do I start? You start wherever you want to start, man. So it depends on your goal. Depends on what you're trying to achieve. Carson, Northern Ireland. Dope. Will this live be recorded? I think so. Yeah, this is my first time doing a live. So we will see what's recorded and how this is recorded. It says from Germany. Cool. For your business. Starting. Cool. Certain businesses living in Germany. So I guess the reason this broke is that maybe like the number of calls went kind of berserk. I don't know. One thing I do know is I need to create a Supabase project. And I'm sorry, my friends, but I'm gonna have to make this Supabase project off screen because I'm afraid that I'll accidentally share stuff I probably shouldn't. But to create them, it's pretty straightforward. You just create new project and type in stuff, and I'll give the tips I can throughout. Right. And uh, for this project in Supabase, so what is Supabase? Like I said, Supabase is basically a fancy Excel sheet that sits behind your application. So if you're building an app and you would like that application to have data, then you're going to want to have some sort of tool in the background. It could be Supabase, it could be Firebase, it could be, there's a million different versions of what you could choose. But we're going to use Supabase because that's what we know how to use. Yeah, Postgres SQL. So Postgres SQL, I think it's a format or it's an abstraction layer that can be used by different tools. So I'm pretty sure Supabase has Postgres SQL in the background. Um, but there's like providers that sit on top of the fundamental technologies, which is what I think you just mentioned. Okay, it's still going. So this is another interesting thing about codecs is that when you compare codecs, especially when it's switched on to GPT-5 high reasoning, it's the persistence it has, like its willingness to keep going until it's actually finished a task to the point where it's done it at a threshold that's expected by the user. It's quite impressive. I know Cloud Code does a pretty good job as well when it comes to persistence, but it also doesn't have an easy undo, which I hate. So that's why we're using codecs. I mean, for many other reasons, but that's one of the reasons why we're using codecs. It's funny. I said that I know how to use Supabase, but I can't find a thing that I need for the app. When in doubt, click a bunch of buttons until you find it. What's it gonna do? Do I have a community Discord? I do not. So to recap, the difference to do conversations is the secret cause for keeping everything going right in direction. Sauce. So to recap, to do between conversations is the secret sauce. Oh, the to-dos. Sorry, I was reading it wrong. The to-dos between conversations is the secret sauce for keeping everything going in the right direction. Bingo, bongo, correct, Carson. Not just the to-dos. The to-do, so all three documents. And the reason that all three documents matter is, I mean, I can't believe that's still working. So impressive. Is this little drawing I have here. So I don't know where my little drawing pad is. My drawing thingy. So the reason all three documents matter is going to be, let's do different colors so it actually makes sense. And I probably should zoom in a bit. Actually, let's do this. All right. So the three documents: specification, blueprint, to-dos. The to-dos, like you've stated, acts as the ability to string together context across conversations so the AI has a persistent memory. So this is really important, as you mentioned. But every prompt that we give the AI for every new conversation is going to be derived from the blueprint that goes through exactly how we're going to build this. So you need this for all the prompts you're going to paste in. And then also, the specification at the very beginning is the seed. It's the source that everything is derived from. So in the process of creating all three of these documents, you actually first create the specification. After you've created this, then the AI creates the blueprint based on the spec. After it's created the blueprint, it creates the to-dos based on the blueprint. So it's basically like stacked. So we had like a pyramid. It's a really bad pyramid. Spec, blueprint, to-dos. That's kind of like how that's it fit in my head. So we shouldn't be doing anything in relation to Docker. I want to make sure that anything that we're doing for Supabase is going to be directly in relation to the production Supabase that's in the cloud or on the internet. Nothing in Docker, nothing local. All right, so what I just did there is oftentimes, which is quite annoying, is the AI wants to do everything in Docker when it uses Supabase and wants to do it locally. Part of the reason I'm not doing that is this is a toy app that I'm building for myself, and there's no impact on consumers that are using the application today. So I want to have direct connection to Supabase in the cloud, so I can work with that and test everything in production. And I can see why it's asking for Docker because we've listed Docker here, and I probably didn't read it deeply enough. And I need to see if Docker is mentioned anywhere else. No. So I basically have to tell it not to use Docker. That's the moral of the story. Agree. A Discord could be cool. The only hesitation I have with Discords is community management. That is a burden and a task that I am not up to. I have other things that take all my time. Uh, but we have chat here. We have a community here. We're building a temporary community that will disappear after the live stream disappears. You know, as they say, what is it? As they say, you know, you only value what is ephemeral. I don't think that's a quote, but it sounds right. Me as a vibe coding pro, you don't think I'd fail at creating a community manager AI? I probably could, but it might go awry. Either the community manager AI becomes super open and willing for complete chaos if I use something like DeepSeek or Grok, or if I use something that's like OpenAI or Claude, it would shut everybody down. Nobody would be able to talk about anything. And this is it, internet. This is vibe coding. You put something in and you wait for something to pop out. You test it. If it's broken, you fix it, and then you iterate. That is the name of the game. It's as sexy as everybody makes it out to be on the interwebs. Carson, what's your thoughts on frameworks like Crew AI? So I used it a really long time ago when it first like initially came out and was popular. When I build orchestrator tools, I used to use LangChain quite a bit, but I found that you can do a lot without having to use any of the complexity of the orchestrator tools themselves. You can a lot of these AI providers like OpenAI and Claude and Anthropic, they're starting to bake in that functionality for the APIs and making it easier to kind of pass things back and forth in conversations. Alrighty, so this finished, which is grand. All right, so I need to run this inside of Supabase, and I think I can show you that. Yeah. So where are we at? Here, this is Supabase. Inside of Supabase, I'm going to go to the SQL editor. I've already created my project, which is called UTM. I'm going to paste in the stuff that it's given me and push run, and we got an error. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it back and say, hey, we got an error, bro. I wonder, okay. All right, and then what I just ran, so some context is it wrote a bunch of files, right? So when I had the previous step that it ran, it created a bunch of files, one of which was SQL. So I know it's SQL based off this icon, little database. Also, it says .SQL. Usually when that happens, it's not going to automatically put this into Supabase. Sometimes it can, sometimes it can't. If it can't, what I'll do is I'll usually just go into the project I'm on, go to the SQL editor, paste in what it provided, run it, and then once I run it, either it works and it says success, or it doesn't, and I have to go back and have it fix whatever errors that were associated. So here it rewrote some things and fixed some stuff. So we'll re-put this in, and hopefully it works. There you go, success. And if I go into the table, now we have two tables. We have process webhooks and raw events. And those two tables were auto-generated based off of this SQL that I pasted in here and ran. All right. All right, so question, what are we building? What we're building a tracker. So I probably should have some sort of like visual that depicts what we want. Let's draw something here. So what we're building is something to track clicks. So if you're on my YouTube channel, let's go to YouTube, and you go to a video, let's go to this one here, and pause this. Below, we have a bunch of links. And each one of these links go to a certain page. So if I click this, it takes me to this page. If I click this, it takes me to this page, etc. And that one takes me to that page. So all these go to different pages, all of which are different offerings and things that I provide for my business. Now, what I want to do is I want to track the number of clicks I get on each one of those links, and not just for this link, but when somebody clicks this and, oh, they're interested and they want to actually do something about this, if they actually go down here and they click one of these, if they click that link, I will know that they clicked that link as well. So I don't know exactly who did it, but I want to track clicks over time. So it's basically a click tracker. And we want to track over time because it'll help me figure out which videos are getting more qualified leads versus just views. Because oftentimes when you create a video, you may get a ton of views, but none of which actually have qualified leads for the business you're trying to sell a product for or a service for. So we're basically tracking the click at least 2 to 3 times. So YouTube video, website, and then booking for a call or a payment for one of the lower ticket items that I have for a potential assessment. So I need to track that and say, okay, if this video here has, maybe this has 1,000 views, 1,000 views for a video. And then from that video, maybe I've gotten 5 leads, people that booked calls. But then down here, I have a video that has maybe 100,000 views. But from here, I only got 2 leads. So this is like, clearly, I should make more of these videos that get 5 leads instead of this one gets 100,000 leads or 100,000 views. because even though the views can be attractive and they can be enticing to say, oh, I got views, so I should make more videos like that, it's not actually achieving the end goal that I have, which is getting more leads. So I need to create some sort of metric and a way of tracking the um, pursuing the incentive that I've set for myself. And like I've stated previously at the beginning of the video or the live stream, there's a bunch of tools that exist like this already. There's RevTrack and a bunch of others. My goal is to say, if I can build this within 8 hours, I'll just use my own. If not, I'll buy somebody else's. And that's we're not going to be here for 8 hours. I'll be here for another probably 2. But I just want to see if I can build this for myself instead of using somebody else's. And that's what we're building. Norden is the question. Which state are you in? I'm in Florida. And if you had to choose an order of things to learn, what might be your top 5 in what order? So Carson, it depends. It all really depends on goals. So it depends on what your goal is. If your goal is, I don't know, building a business, then it would depend on the business. If your goal is to get a job, it depends on the job, all that stuff. So I need more context to answer the question. All right, so we just finished that second step. So we're going to have it mark the database setup done. And after that, we'll go on to the next part, which is shared packages. All right, so one thing it didn't mark off was the provision of role keys in Supabase, store secrets, no hard coding, da 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 da. Okie dokie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the code so far to our repo to make sure that we have some sort of stopping point. All right, and then for this, all right, so for this step, I'm going to have to, again, move this off screen because I have a bunch of secrets I'm going to share with AI that I'm afraid that I cannot share with you right now, or probably ever, but I'll bring it back. I just need to send this off, let it do its thing. While it's working, I'll answer questions. I'm impressed. We have 19 people watching. It's 20 people. It's more than I thought. I thought I'd have 0 people watching. This is kind of cool. It's like I have 20 friends hanging out with me right now, instead of me talking to the camera by myself. Any other questions people have? Thoughts? All right, so mostly I need to find the skills to code software dynamically. So far, I'm getting satisfactory results in building experts in marketing, business idea generation, legal accounting, etc. Uh, Carson, I'm not sure I understand the question completely. So you want the skill to build software so you can build a product that you can eventually sell as a business. Is that right? So you're wondering if you can build games with AI? Definitely, yeah. You you can. I would say there's all types of people building games on X. Like they are small indie games, so like kind of simple 2D games. Um, and I've heard that Grok 4 is probably one of the best models for creating video games, or at least one of the most prominent when it comes to doing so. Because I've seen a lot of people make games with Grok. So I'd recommend trying that and starting out with something really really tiny and simple, and then adding complexity over time. So Faraz AI says, "What do I think about Base 44?" I have no idea what Base 44 is. Let's see what it is. Build apps in minutes. Features, tracing. So is this like a bolt.new or like a lovable? A Replit agent? Is it something like that? I've never used it, so I don't have an opinion. But my guess is it's falling into the same market or the same segment of tools like Lovable, Bolt.new, Replit, Agent. So all of these tools, Bolt.new, Lovable, Replit Agent, I guess base 44, they're all solving a similar issue, a similar problem. And the problem they're trying to solve is going to be people that are non-technical, but they want to have basic applications and or like more likely prototypes that they can share with people then to get investment or buy-in from people that can help them build it from end to end. Because most of these tools that build these items, they tend to be more oriented towards prototypes, not actual applications. You can build small apps on here and deploy them, but the scalability of them is kind of like still still in question, but they're really good for prototypes. And I recommend if you wanted to create like a really cool front end for a mobile app or a web application, you can use one of those tools to do so. All right. Where'd you guys go? I lost you. Which tech stack works best for LLMs to vibe code? Um, I would say usually the popular ones. So like you mentioned, the ones that are in the training set the most. So JavaScript, Python, HTML, CSS, TypeScript is another good one. There have been I've seen some people that are pretty adamant that Go is quite good. Reason being is that it's one of those languages that are easily, I guess, testable, or it's somewhat verifiable in a sense. So the AI is able to correct itself more effectively with Go. Uh, but yeah, those are like the big ones. Some that are somewhat difficult is like Swift. When you're trying to build like an application for a mobile phone, but that's getting easier and better because there are apps that are getting created just dedicated to that. But yeah, that's some of my thoughts. You got to know my channel through my Ethernaut series. Yo, you're an OG. Been around for a while. So that is obsolete. We're now working on AI. AI is the focus. But it was fun going deep into the ethers. All right, so I'm gonna accept this, and sorry for not showing the screen for this long. I just needed to make sure that the AI did what I needed to do, and it uploaded the secrets I needed to upload for Supabase. So now we can have access to the Supabase instance when we need to build stuff. All right, so it's gonna check mark, and also you can see I switched to the right side. So on the right side, I'm using Sonnet now. The reason I'm using Sonnet is OpenAI didn't agree with helping me with the secret stuff, so I had to tell OpenAI to go take a hike and use Sonnet instead. And it looks like it jumped ahead a few steps, which is, I guess, okay as long as it didn't break anything. But we want to go back in time and make sure that everything is done there. All right. So we're going to go to the next step, which is going to be prompt 3. We're going to go back to our OpenAI chat without sharing my secrets. There we go. And have it start working on prompt 3. All right, I'm gonna go take a coffee break. I'll be back in a few minutes. I'm not sure what to show you. Let's put on some cool like nature stuff. All right, how about this? A Tokyo walk. All right, we'll see how many people we'll see how many people I lose doing this. But all right, I'm gonna go get coffee. Enjoy the walk around Tokyo. Great place, Japan. You should go. All right. Where did we go? Where did we end up in Tokyo? Shibuya Stream Excel Hotel. That's what I'm talking about. All right. We're down 8 streamers. 8 people. We got 8. This is still working. Can you believe this? What it's been like 10 minutes? Is there a timer somewhere? We can track how long it's been working. There's got to be a timer somewhere, right? It's both cool that it's working this long because it makes me feel like it's gonna work first time around, but also at the same time, it's like, can't you be a little faster, dude? Let's see what it's building. Centralized shared types, slug mapping, UTM derivation. And also, as I hear myself saying this, please hurry up. Like, come on. This is AI. It's writing code for you. Get over yourself, Dylan. All right. So the tasks. It's going to create some schemas for Zod, which is an evil character in Superman, I think. Export type scripts, implement destinations. So you can see this is the path, right? So it goes YouTube link, should be the offer page, and then cow.com. But I'm assuming this will hopefully get it right. We'll see. I might switch over to Sonnet after this one because this is cool that it's working for so long, but it's also taking way too long. And I know Sonnet's faster, even though it's more error prone. If we do run it and run into errors, we can just pass it into Codex and have it fix it. But I don't think I'm willing to wait this long for every single piece of the prompt. I'm not that patient. Oh, we got reverb. Oh no. Is there still reverb? I mean, what is reverb? Like an echo? Delarco. Oh my gosh, I know who that is. I've given through 3 recaps already. Delarco. Uh, there's an echo. I don't believe you. Nobody else said there was an echo. I think it's your issue, Delarco. I think you're the problem. Um, a recap. What are we building? I'll give you a quick recap. See this? See this big blob of yellow stuff? That's what we're building. All right, so the recap is basically that below my YouTube videos, there are links, and each one of these links are offerings that I have to sell and/or free things that I can give to people. And what I want to know is, of the videos that I make, which videos create more leads? Because just due to the fact that a video gets 100,000 views doesn't mean that it equates to more leads for the business that I have and the services I sell. So if I get a type of video that I make that gets maybe 1,000 views, but then gives me 10 leads, that's more attractive to me than a video that gets 100,000 views but only 2 leads. So the efficacy of converting a viewer into a qualified lead and then a client is what I'm interested in. So I'm creating a tool that basically tracks the clicks from YouTube to website to booked on the calendar. And yes, there are many tools that already do this today. But I'm making this because I want to see if I can create it in 6 to 8 hours, which is not it's not going to be today. But in that total of time, if I can do it, I'll build it. But if not, then I'll buy it. Oh, so there is a reverb. Larco's not the only one. All right. Wait. People are saying there's not. There's not an echo. There is an echo. Who do I believe? I don't know who to trust here. You know who I can trust? My wife. I'll go ask her to watch and tell me if there's an echo or not. I'll be back. All right, so I I believe you. She said there was an echo. So let's figure out what the echo is. Let's try not to be under the water. All right. So I just muted something. Did that fix it? Do I sound better or worse now? Is there any difference in what I sound like? All right. That's it. We're not going to wait anymore. Tired of waiting for this. We're conversation paused. We're going to go to Sonnet. Even though it can cause some damage, we're willing to accept the damage. Okay, so I'm moving from the left side to the right side. So we're going from Codex on the left, from which is OpenAI, to the right side, which is Sonnet 4 inside of Cursor. And we're doing that because we're impatient. Better, fixed, better. Much better. Cool. Cool, groovy. Fix it. See? It's almost like I know what I'm doing, but I don't. Your other half likes me too. Nice. So here's a little fun fact that's kind of annoying sometimes. So when you're coding with Cursor or whatever else that has a terminal baked into the chat like this, you can see it's going through the chat, and then it goes into a terminal to test something, which is totally fine. But sometimes it gets stuck because it needs some sort of user input, and the AI refuses to input it. No idea why. So in cases like this, you have to click into the terminal like that and either press Q to do it. And for some reason, that's not that's not working either. And if that doesn't work, you can just do cancel, and it basically skips that step. It's almost like as if you're doing a Control C to stop the terminal, so the AI can see what the output was to figure out if it needs to continue or not. Oh, my wife, yeah, she got credit. Well, she got credit for telling me there was an echo. She does not get credit for telling me how to fix it. I get credit for that, Carson. One interesting thing about the personality associated to Claude is that it's very chatty and also very optimistic. So oftentimes when it finishes a step in a prompt, it's obviously you can see the output here is extremely verbose. It's saying, "Oh, here are all the things I did. Here's all the emoji green check marks." And oftentimes at the top, it's like, "Great success! Like we're amazing. I can't believe we did this. We're so happy." And it's deceiving because it makes you think, "Oh, this must be working." It's like it's so ecstatic that it did this correctly. Oftentimes, not oftentimes, sometimes it's not. It's not true. It's broken. So in this case, we'll want to see, is there a way that we can test this with real data, real connections to the Supabase instance, and anything else relevant for the previous step that we just did? I want to test the real flow with not mock data, not unit tests, but the real thing. So I'm going to push it to see if we can test this and prove that it's actually working or not. Do we have any questions while we're waiting patiently for the AI to do its thing? I guess while we're waiting for this to build, we could probably just collect some more secrets that we need to collect for this application. I mean, figure out where in the heck do we get the secrets? All that good stuff. So subscriber URL, webhook. Hmm. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to do some research with good old ChatGPT. To do that research, we need to figure out what keys we need. So we first need URL static, a webhook worker, cal.com signature verifier, route design unit test, ConvertKit integration. You know, what we could do, OpenAI has been sucking a bit, but we're going to ask, so I'm assuming there's different types of secrets and API keys we'll need for this outside of Supabase. So I'm wondering where to find each of the secrets. So I need to get, obviously, for YouTube Analytics, cal.com, webhooks, the webhook for ConvertKit, anything else that I need for this system. I want you to let me know exactly where to find it in each one of the websites. And then once I found the keys, where to store it currently in the code base. So review the code base, review the specification, the blueprint, and the to-dos, just to understand exactly what we're trying to build, and then research online as of September 21st, 2025, exactly where to find those associated secrets so I can then put it inside our code base. All right. So you said I pay for Gemini, ChatGPT, or if you pay for ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude. Should I go for more? What do you recommend and why? Carson, again, man, it completely depends. So like if you're just trying to learn from all the tools and you have the money to spend, then sure, I would go ahead and try out everything. But if you have a specific goal in mind of building an application or whatever else, that would dictate which applications you use. So for me, I have a consultancy that's dedicated to AI. So I build AI products for companies, and I have services and education around it. So for me, I have probably more subscriptions than most because I both use all of the tools quite often, but also I need to understand all the different. I need to understand all the differences between the tools. So when advising different company owners and executives, I know where to direct them based off of their use case. This is a UI thing, but one thing I really do like about using the Cursor native AI instead of Codex is when it shows you a diff of what's been changed. It's just a clear red green. You don't have to click into the yellow bar to see it. It's a small thing, but I do like seeing the inline changes, and so it's very explicit as to what's been added and what's been deleted. But I do hate the fact that Sonnet is so verbose. It writes way too much, which is kind of annoying. But hey, beggars can't be choosers. All right, so we just finished that step. We're going to start a new chat, and we're going to paste in the new prompt for prompt 4, which is using UUID version 7. And let's actually use GPT-5 in here and see how that performs, because I know it's less wordy. It's not as good as the Codex GPT-5 because of it's not using high reasoning, but it still might be comparable to Sonnet 4. And one little thing I learned from a friend of mine is when using UUIDs, this is a hard lesson he learned that he taught me recently, is when you use a UUID. So what is a UUID? A UUID is a unique number that helps you discern the difference between different data points inside of a database. And there's different versions of UUIDs. He highly recommended that I use version 7 for this application instead of usually version 4 is what's recommended by the AI based off of where its cutoff is in the training. And the reason being is that with the version 7, I don't think it states anything in here. Regex. It doesn't state anything in the blueprint. Might be in the spec, but for version 7, apparently it's more unique based off of a few things that it includes in the calculation of the unique string. So to make up the unique string, it usually takes a point in time. So what time is it on the machine that's creating it? The associated maybe like last few elements of the data point, and a variety of other things get added together. So it basically takes a few different elements, it puts them all together in some sort of like fancy calculation, and then creates a string that's unique. And with version 7, there's a few elements here that are added that makes it truly unique. So you don't have any collisions in your database. Because sometimes if you use older versions like version 4, it's going to have collisions of data points that are the same string, and that breaks a bunch of stuff downstream. So it's one unique thing I've learned about this is using version 7 instead of version 4. It's very it's super niche and specific, but figured I'd share it because you know. All right, so Strawberry says, "Love your content. Thank you that. Thank you, thank you. Please explain the separators and usefulness, if any, between hashtags and brackets in practice." Okay. So That's a good question, and I will give you an answer. Let's go to our handy dandy drawing pad here. So you have two different things. So what you're referring to is these are called delimiters. I have no idea how to spell it. I think this might be somewhat close-ish, delimiters. So what a delimiter does, the purpose of it, is when an AI looks at a system prompt. So say this huge block here is a system prompt, and this is a prompt that has a bunch of stuff inside of it. So when the AI looks at this, it needs to know what's the difference between different parts of the prompt, because each part of the prompt has a certain purpose. So for instance, maybe this part here is focused on the role and objective. Maybe this part here is focused on the specific tools it has access to. Maybe this part here is focused on the output format that the AI should provide back to you. So each part of this prompt is a separate area. The way we can discern the difference between these for the AI is two ways. One is you can do it with hashtags, which is using Markdown. Another one is using XML tags, which is XML. Now the question is, when do you use which? So it depends. It historically depended on the model. So in the past, OpenAI's models, GPT, they tended to favor Markdown based off of their training data set, so how they were trained. Over a while, so Claude favored XML based off of the data set it was trained on. But what's happening is pretty interesting, is a lot of these models are starting to converge on XML. They're starting to favor XML tags. And the reason they're likely favoring this is that most of the websites online, they tend to have a lot of XML tags in the code itself, which helps the AI discern things differently because since that's more prominent in its data set, it tends to favor this more. So if you're really serious about a certain task and it's a really high stakes task, it's really important that you get this correct. I'd recommend using XML as the structure for the system prompt. When I say system prompt, I'm referring to GPT projects and things like that. So in here, you have inside of ChatGPT, you have custom GPTs and you have GPT projects. So GPT projects is something that's private to you, you can't share with others. And custom GPTs are things you can share with other people, both of which have system prompts. So if I go in here to create a system prompt, let's go to an existing one that I have. Here's basically a GPT that I have that creates thumbnails for me or helps me create thumbnails. In the upper right hand corner, if I select the three dots here and I do edit instructions, this is my system prompt. So you can see this actually is in Markdown. I mostly use Markdown and OpenAI, and the reason I mostly use Markdown and OpenAI is that they have a prompt optimizer that's dedicated to their model. So what I'll do often is I'll write a base prompt. I'll usually have AI write it, and then I'll throw that into this optimizer, and then it'll automatically optimize the prompt for GPT-5 specifically, which is what we see here in this system prompt. So this is Markdown. That's the delimiter we're using here. But if I'm creating system prompts for Grok, Gemini, Claude, many of the others, that's likely going to be in XML. And reason being, and the reason I know that's optimal for theirs is Anthropic has their own prompt optimizer. So they have a generate prompt here. So when you generate a prompt, so actually I could probably just take this one and show you. If I copy this in here, paste that in, and I say generate, it's likely going to convert what I've given it, which is in Markdown, to convert it to something that's more XML based. And it did. So you can see here, it has a mix of Markdown and XML. So it's writing a bunch of stuff. It's improving the prompt for Claude specific models. But if I go to the top here, you can see that the area I've highlighted is XML based. So it's saying this input field that you're going to get from the user is going to be inside of these tags. So that was kind of a long way of going around basically saying that if you're going to use certain models, it depends on the delimiter that you're going to choose. But I'd recommend using XML for most models and Markdown for GPT. Strawberry. I'm sorry that it took like 20 minutes to answer your question. Was that somewhat useful? Very cool. All right, so it looks like we got a response from Codex telling us exactly where to get the secrets. So we'll start with cal.com. And we need these secrets so we can connect our system to them as we track the user's clicks. So we need to go into the dashboard. We need to go to developer, which I'm not seeing. Oh, API keys. Got them. Found it. All right, so webhooks. I'll go to webhooks, not API keys. Weird. Why'd you do that? Select your endpoint. Load into work. All right. I'm not really sure how to do this, so I guess I'll show you what I'm doing. So I'm on cal.com. I went basically to their settings, went to webhooks here, and it's asking for a subject URL. So we'll just say AI assessment for the first one. How long will the users don't show? It's 5 minutes. Cool. Payload template. No idea. Say create. Oh, it needs to be an actual URL. No, the question is, where do we get the URL? All right, I'm gonna pull you back down here so I can see the chat. Carson, what do you think of Cairo? Cairo is basically Amazon's version of Cursor. So for everybody else on the chat, this is Carson's referring to Cairo. So this is an IDE similar to Cursor. It's it says that it's kind of spec-driven development, etc. This is what we're doing. So they've baked into their process the whole 3-document structure I've talked about previously earlier in the video. I've not used it much, so I honestly don't have like a valid perspective. But from what I've heard, that people that have used it, it's basically just a bad version of Cursor, at least for now. And I'm assuming that's because they just created this. So over time, I'm sure it will improve. But will Amazon surpass other companies in their ability to create effective AI IDEs? My bet is no. My bet is that the AI providers like OpenAI and Anthropic will have the best, and then everybody else will be the long tail because they have direct access to the models that are being trained. So that's my bet. I need step-by-step guidance on how to find the exact location for each of these secrets on the websites for them. I already have Supabase set up, so we can actually ignore that. I'm going to delete that so you don't get distracted. Um, but for the others, I need assistance in finding those, knowing exactly where to go. If there are any gotchas or things I need to consider, make sure you include that in your explanation. But research each of these methodically before you provide anything back to me, and make it simple. Keep it written at a 5th grade reading level. Make sure the terms you're referring to are directly inside the website so I know where to look, and then keep the sentences short. All right, so this output that I got from Codex is not ideal. And Sonnet's really working hard over here. This is another really long session. It's oh no, it's GPT-5. That's why. That's why it's taking forever. Telling you guys, GPT-5 is good, but it's slow. All right. So we can try to, I guess, do ConvertKit because cow.com wasn't as easy as I wanted it to be. All right. So we need to go to settings, advanced, webhooks. Where's webhooks at? Need to go to developer, probably not advanced, maybe. My guess is Codex is wrong on this because we're seeing different things here. So it's actually part of the reason why I asked ChatGPT to research this for us as well, because my guess is that it's going to be more up to date than whatever Codex provided back. Yeah, I'd recommend starting with Cursor for now, Carson. And reason being is Cursor is kind of the leader of the market, so they're going to have most of the bells and whistles that people want at a semi-reasonable price with most of the models you can choose from. So you're not limited to any given model. I'm not sure what models are available in Cairo, but for instance, if you're using Claude Code, you're limited just to Sonnet and Opus. If you're using Gemini CLI, you're mainly limited just to Gemini. You can add keys in. I know there are ways to get around that. But if you're using Cursor and you don't want to deal with all the configurations, you can easily just go to the drop down here and choose from all the models that are available. So you can see I have Gemini 2, I have Claude Sonnet 5 or 3.5, GPT-4, GPT-5, Claude, Gemini 4. Like you get all the models basically. You can add more easily. So I wouldn't, yeah. Is the free version of Cursor useful to get started? I would say to a certain extent. It's just to get an understanding of how to use a tool, sure. But if you want to build anything meaningful, it's going to eventually, after you get past your limits, it's going to default to auto. And then in auto, it's going to use mainly its models. And that means that it's not going to be that high quality when you use it. If you're looking for an AI IDE that has a lot of excessive usage, that has a pretty good model, I'd recommend either Claude Code, Codex, or Gemini CLI. Reason being is all of these companies have tons and tons of cash from VCs where they can basically burn the money away. And with that comes a lot of uh, kindness of their hearts to get you to use their tools. So you can get more out of those tools if you want to use a free plan. So all the webhook oriented ones, such as Cal.com and ConvertKit, we don't have webhooks yet. So we need to first create webhooks and then pull them in. So how do we go? Do we need to create API keys first and then use those API keys to create webhooks, or what's the initial step we need to take to ensure that we can get the secrets to make the system work? Do you voice most of your thinking? Is that a question or a request? I'm doing my best to voice my thinking. When I'm alone, it's usually very quiet in here. That's kind of true, not true though, because I do dictation, and with dictation, I often talk to my computer now, so I don't have to type. Saves me a lot of time and effort because talking is faster than typing. Okay, so it looks like this is all done. But again, hate how long it takes. So we're gonna go back to Sonnet 4. Uh, so let's do no do that. We need to actually have it update the to-dos. So we'll have it update the to-dos with our progress. And again, as a reminder, we're doing that so when we start fresh conversations, the AI knows exactly what's been done and what's next. Hello, Fluke SS. Boheem. Voice input by buddy. Yep. Yeah. I use dictation. I specifically use I think it's called Super Whisper. Is a tool that I use. Uh, yeah, it's called Super Whisper. And I have updates to install, so I'll install them. Melbourne, Australia. Whoa. What time is it in Melbourne? Time in Melbourne. Whoa. Holy shyster. That's commitment. 4:56 a.m. More in-depth videos. So I wonder if you can make more in-depth videos to use ChatGPT for making factories to make the code. So Bohem, can you ask the question in a different way? When you say factories to make the code, are you referring to like the scaffolding associated to increasing the ease of writing code for a given project? And you're not late to the party. I mean, well, you 117 minutes late, correct? But I'll stick around for probably another hour or so, so you can ask questions. Any questions you got? All right, so we finished this step. We're going to move to prompt 5, which is adding a cookie utility to track clickers. Well, that works. I'm gonna try to figure out how in the heck to enable this stuff. So for the below step, I needed to create a consent screen based off of Cloud Console, what it stated. So I'm going through that process now, and it's asking for when I create the app for this, it's asking for an audience. Is it internal versus external, etc. So make sure you walk me through those steps as well. All right. So you had a recent video about fixing bugs in code, and you said that we should look at the context. I think I do know. Yeah. So the context. Yeah. So what I'm referring to that. So you want to make more videos on that? I could, but again, this tool right now that we're making is going to probably help dictate what videos we make in the future. Or it's not going to drive them completely, but it'll give me some guidance as to the types of videos I should make based off the time, like the clients I'm aiming for. So I could maybe. What are your consultancy rates, Carson? My consultancy rates, they depend. It's all variable, buddy. Depends on the project. So this is the main page. It's linked at the bottom. All of my actually this page isn't linked at all the pages, but all these pages are linked below all the videos. So we have the AI assessment, which is basically giving an assessment to people on letting them know where to apply AI. The next one is coaching. So this is usually for business owners and or executives. And this is a one-on-one coaching. So you get 2 hours with me over a subset of sessions. So we can meet 4 times, 8 times, 12 times over how many ever weeks and months. And it's usually hands-on building. So it's like what we're doing now, but one-on-one, and you're driving and I'm guiding. And then also this helps inform where you invest your money in the future for your teams and your business. And then this is the custom pricing. So this varies based off of project. So yeah, that's the spiel. Buy now. I'm getting better. I'm getting better at the whole sales thing. So it looks like I shouldn't jump ahead too far because all the credentials that I want to set up here, they have dependencies on previous steps when it comes to connecting it to certain URIs and URLs and stuff. So we're just gonna have to wait it out. But this looks like it completed, which is good. So we'll trust the fact that it might be finished and move on. So we'll have it update the to-dos first. I appreciate the wishes, Carson. Me too, man. It's it'll happen. Just takes work. All right. So programming Siri. How can I start AI consulting? How can you start an AI consulting business with a lot of umph and effort? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people on YouTube that talk about how to create AI consulting businesses. I'm not the guy to pitch on that because I've had some success for myself, but not enough to go off and tell other people how to do it. But I mean, the big thing is focusing on sales and marketing and not building. A lot of people get distracted by the tech and they build a bunch of stuff that nobody wants. So I think focusing on marketing and sales is more important than the technical know-how, at least to start with. Especially if you're somebody like me that has a computer science background and you're distracted by the tech. All right, so we updated the to-dos. I'm not really a big fan of the summary at the top. I do like this part where it's updated here, though. All right, we're going to accept it, move on, because time is of the essence. So we'll move on to prompt 6, which is the router worker selection. So when I hear router worker, in my head, alarms go off saying that this is for Cloudflare, which is fine. But if that is true, then we need to make sure that we share documentation associated to uh, with Cloudflare. They think they have Wrangler workers. So I'm going to share this API documentation there. And also, I wonder if they have Cloudflare. Yeah, they have the official docs as well. So I'm going to share those. So when it refers to the code base, it's writing code that's up to date based off of the documentation and not writing old code that's not relevant for what's being used today for Cloudflare specifically. We have other questions from the group? Questions from my friends? I'm curious, what are the type of backgrounds people have here? So like I'm curious like for those that are watching, there are 18 of you. What what's your profession? What do you do? How do you spend your time? Are you in school? Are you working? Are you retired? Are you artists? Are you techies? Are you what's your deal? All right, so the answers we're getting: PhD in computer science. Very nice. Thinking to myself, at what point am I too focused on the tech? If you have a technical background or a technical leaning and you're trying to create a company, and it's not like super hard tech and it's VC backed, and you're just trying to do like a self-funded thing, you're likely always too focused on the tech. I mean, that's from what I've noticed from people. Somebody's a New York City startup engineering. Very cool. Personally work in the IT support field for the last 16 years, taking a break from it to explore more AI development opportunities within 2 applications I'm building. Nice, nice. Civil engineer. I have much spare time, mainly to Web3 and AI. Very cool. So it looks like more technical folks here. So IT, engineering, computer science, civil engineer. This is interesting. Now the question is, if I did a live stream on like beginner tips on how to use ChatGPT or something, what kind of audience would I get then? Or maybe a live stream on how to build a GPT project or something like that. Manufacturing engineer, quality oil and gas, just started learning AI generalist. Nice. Great idea. This is high level hardcore coding, all right. You reap what you sow. Also, at what point do we need to go into Cloudflare, the dashboard itself, and set any credentials up there or connect this to that to the Cloudflare workers themselves? Base it off of the to-dos and the blueprint. All right, some other questions here. How about non-coding but argumentative tasks, such as steel manning positions? Any experience and tips? Yeah, so I actually have a series of GPT projects that are dedicated to, uh, I would say, validating ideas and debating points with me. And one way I like to do that is actually with advanced voice mode. So on your application on your phone, um, you can you can set up advanced voice mode for ChatGPT, especially if you have Plus. You have a really long. They've extended the amount of time you can have now, and you can either go on a walk or just sit around your house and have a conversation with the AI, having it debate you on a given topic that you have one side and they have the other, or having them take a position of saying you're trying to pitch an idea inside of the company that you work at, and or you're trying to sell a product to a consumer. You can put them in a certain persona. So they could be an argumentative chief financial officer, or they could be a skeptical chief security officer, or whatever else. They take on the persona and you try to pitch them the idea. It's a great way to actually practice your persuasive abilities and your sales abilities. So I'd recommend, if you wanted to try that, that would be a good thing to play with. And then another question is, do you see AI doing a fast takeoff or a slow and steady? Oh, that's above my pay grade, Carson. I I hope that it's slow and steady. 'Cause that sounds more comfortable from a humanities point of view, or like from humanities perspective. But hard takeoff, that would be, I guess, cool to watch, but maybe painful to experience. I have no idea. Greedy. All right. So apparently we're gonna develop everything locally, and then we start interacting with stuff later on, which I'm down for. So we'll accept this. The to-dos are up to date. So we're then going to go to prompt 7, move on to that step, and read it really quick to make sure that there's anything here related to Cloudflare. I appreciate the feedback, Carson. It's always good to know we're being appreciated. Not a question. Please keep posting on YouTube. I will, Strawberry. I will keep posting on YouTube. The goal is to do 2 videos a week for not forever, but for a good amount of time until I established a good process and ability to get more leads for the business. All right, task is complete. And it is. All right, question from Faraz. I wonder why you don't like to share your personal experience on building an AI consultancy business. The majority of YouTube are like sales ads, and I haven't come across one useful one. Hmm. I'm curious, what are when it comes to building consultancies and what other people say on YouTube, Faraz, what do you mean by sales ads? So is it that they're basically telling you how to build a business, but then not sharing enough specificity to building it, and then having you pay for a course or a community on school or something like that? Exactly. Okay. So, to answer your question, the reason that I don't talk too much about my business is oftentimes the it's all about incentives, right? So incentives kind of like drive most of how humans act. And if I'm going to create a YouTube channel and content around how to create consultancies and consultancy businesses, the incentive for me is to attract a lot of people that want to build consultancy businesses, but either struggle to do so and or maybe not ready. And it turns into a point where you're selling a bunch of things to people. You're selling an idea of what you've achieved without actually achieving it. And oftentimes you see these people say like, "Oh, I've sold 100,000 or a million or whatever," and consultancies, and some maybe have, but the incentives are misaligned for them to want to create a community of people trying to do the same thing they did. It's almost like a pyramid scheme in a sense, because if everybody succeeded, they would have more competitors to outcompete them in the market, and they likely know most people will not take action based off the advice they provide. So I don't know. For me, I'd rather just build something big and focus on building the business instead of, I don't know, talking too much about building it. Yeah, I guess I'm more focused on action, less on words. That was a bit of a roundabout way of conveying my thoughts. But if you have more questions, please do ask. That's what the live stream's for. So if you have specific questions around how I'm building the business, you can ask it, and I'll answer them to the best of my abilities. So Fluke SS said that you're building an app, um, but sadly doing it behind closed doors. I mean, I guess I wouldn't be too concerned about IP protection or things like that. Usually in the marketplace, like if you build something effective that consumers want and you work harder than your competitors, then there's a chance that you'll outcompete them, or at least you'll be successful enough to survive. All right, so question from Strawberry. You've posted lots of valuable tips about prompting here under system prompts. Here's the agent. So, is the order of the role instruction context style? Uh, are there any technical importances, e.g., role before context? Whoa, this UI just popped up. Oh my gosh, what is this? I think it just wrote a UI to test the features, which is cool. So, simulate new visitor, simulate return visitor, simulate conversion, clear all cookies, run complete journey. New visitor, return visitor, conversion, real-time logs. So let's share the logs. That's pretty cool, right? Claude wrote its own dashboard to test this feature. All right. So to your question, does it matter? So the structure does matter to a certain extent. And the beautiful thing about prompting, if you've seen my recent video, oh, I got a hair in my eye. Oh my god. Uh, let me show the recent video I created because if you just watch this, it'll give you kind of the a much more articulate version of what I'm going to say or would say. So this one here is doing pretty well. The 54,000 5 days. So this GPT-5 trick thing. This one talks about how you can use AI to write your prompts. So you don't necessarily have to be a prompt engineer or a prompt genius. You can just ask AI to research best practices for a given model at a given date, and it's going to research those practices and write the prompt for you based off the intent that you have. And by doing that, it's going to save you a lot of time. You don't necessarily have to know the structure because it'll provide that to you. In addition to that, you can use optimizers as well, like I've stated previously, to restructure the prompt. So the optimizer is here. So I don't know. Let's do a really basic one. I want you to let's do actually let me dictation. I want you to rewrite the emails that I provide you. So the user is going to provide you an email, and I want you to rewrite that email in a structure that follows the tone that I prefer, which is going to be written at a fifth grade reading level, short sentences, open, warm, and conversational, almost like a friendly conversation or a text message, and rewrite all drafts that I provide. So this is like a given system prompt that you'd put behind GPT project. It's not great. It's a starting point. So when you press optimize for the optimizer, it's going to basically take this input, take all the best practices associated with GPT-5, inject it into this prompt to improve its overall structure and usefulness. And you'll see that when it's finished, it'll expand this out quite a lot and put a structure around it, like you've stated, for what items matter. And there you go. So you can see this is a lot bigger. And the sequence of items aligns with what you stated. So we have role and objective at the top, we have instructions, we have output format and verbosity, and stop conditions. So you can basically copy this out and you have an improved system prompt that's going to help you achieve that specific task within a GPT project or even within an application that you build. So that would be my recommendation. Watch that video, it'll give you some better insight. Cool. All right. I'm not going to lie. I think it's pretty dope that Claude wrote this dashboard just to test the cookie's ability to track and grab cookies with the worker here. It's a pretty cool to see. Not sure about you, but I'm impressed. All right, I'm gonna assume that's done. We're gonna move on to prompt 9, which is also related to cookies. Yeah, the Cookie Monster. All right, let's do. What are some other questions? Strawberry. What are the prerequisites for building such a small side hustle business? I get asked all the time from small businesses here in Germany about how to implement AI solutions. The goal is to reduce emissions, needs, and all over tech. Needs of the tech. All right. So the overall question from Faraz AI is basically stating that what are the prerequisites for building a small side hustle business to help others in Germany implement AI inside of their companies? You're getting asked a lot of questions associated to doing so. And what would my recommendations be and advice be? Um, Honestly, my advice would be just to get started, man. So like if people are asking you to do this, just grab a project and do it. So either do it for free or do it for cheap and say, "Hey, I'd be happy to do this for you." Make sure you scope it down to a certain size. So oftentimes what people will do is they'll come to you and say, "Hey, I want you to help me implement AI into my business," but they have no idea what AI can be applied to inside of their business. So they want it to automate everything, and that's usually unrealistic. So you need to scope it down to something that's plausible for you to achieve within a given time frame, so 2 to 3 weeks, and work on getting experience first, and then worry about charging later. But yeah, I would say just take on whatever projects are being given to you, and don't worry about prerequisites or anything like that. That's yeah, I would just say get started. I mean, the main prerequisite that you need is interest, and you've obviously created some of that already with people already asking you about it. So I would just get started and take a project on. What is the preferred process for vibe coding? The preferred process is going to be a video that I shared earlier in the stream. It's going to be down here called Planned Chaos. So watch this video here, Planned Chaos, why I ship more projects using structured vibe coding. And it walks you through the 3 document process that I use for building any application, which is what we're using to build this application currently. So that's going to be a good place to start. Programming Siri. It's a question from you. That's what I answered. For Strawberry, have you tried Grok 4 Fast? I have. I tried it and it's fast. Is it good? No. I mean, like, so comparably, if I were to compare Grok 4 Fast to Opus 4.1 and or GPT-5 high thinking, it's not as good, but it is fast. So if speed is an importance, then I recommend trying it out. And it's also free in a bunch of IDEs right now since they're in beta. Next question is: do you think educational institutions are keeping pace with AI effect on software development? Probably not. I would say that most institutions. There is one school called Alpha School that I've heard about recently. I listened to a few podcasts on them, and I think it's really impressive what they're doing with AI. Um, but no, I don't think most institutions are keeping up um, because most people can't keep up. It's an extremely fast moving situation, and being able to use AI to code and develop is not something that most institutions are used to. So I'd say negative. All right, that's done. We're going to move on to the next part of the blueprint, which is going to be this Supabase wrapper here. And we're going to make sure that we at Supabase documentation. Oops. Here. All right, I'm going to do Supabase. And that's going to put in the Supabase docs. And I'm also going to say all of these secrets and the URL and API keys, etc., are in the code base already for our Supabase instance. You can find that to ensure that if you're doing any testing, you're doing it with live data interacting with the actual Supabase instance. We have Study Gamer. I made one verse extension. Can you check? What? Two lines. Control Shift P. Search scroll reel. No idea what Study Gamer's talking about. So I'm going to go past that. Find chaos. So your blueprint document has similarities to how I use normal conversation text to develop with my favorite AI. I get the AI itself to create its own prompts based off of the normal conversation preferences. Process just to different way. Yeah. Yeah. I'm doing the same exact process. Or not same exact process, but very similar. So the blueprint itself has the prompts that I can copy and paste in, which the blueprint was derived from the specification that I created through an AI interview. So I had the AI interview me on exactly what I wanted to create. From that popped out the spec, which then the blueprint was created from, and then we created the to-dos. Oh, Study Gamer, you made a VS Code extension. Yeah, nope, not gonna download random VS Code extensions. Sorry about that. Yeah, I worked in cybersecurity for 5 years, and I know not to do that. So one thing I just did here, for context that other people are watching, the terminal itself kept on getting hung up when running a test. So I was trying to run this database test, and it kept on getting hung and stuck here. So what I do is I open up the terminal. There's usually a button here where you can say open up terminal, and it pops out here. And you know that this terminal was created by Cursor based off of this sign here. And I can see it was getting stuck. So I basically copy and pasted out all the errors and then put it back into the chat so it knew exactly where it was getting hung up. Because sometimes when Cursor gets hung on a terminal, it doesn't see exactly what happened for some reason. So sometimes you have to force that error back into the chat for it to have context as to why this specific test it's running is erroring out. So strawberry, this question: Are you are you curious in any way? Are you interested in data center build outs, specifically competition between OpenAI, XAI? Do I want to build a competitor to OpenAI? Definitely not. Um, that's too much money that I don't have, and I don't want to chase to get. After. All right, so this feature is done. I mean, Strawberry, am I answering your question accurately? Is that the question you're asking? Like, do I want to create an OpenAI competitor? Many Flare workers. Interesting. What is that? So we've referenced many Flare workers throughout both the blueprint, the to-dos, and the spec. Let's actually convert this to Wranglers. That's the recommendation from Cloudflare. So anytime that you see many Flare, and actually research and look through the code base, identify all the many Flare references, and let's convert those to Wranglers based off the documentation here. So we're not overcomplicating the build. Oh, am I interested in the topic, Strawberry? Yeah, sure. What uh what about the topic are you interested in talking about? If you're interested in hearing me talk about some of that stuff, I made a video a little while back from Mary Meeker's recent report. Where is that? This one. Didn't too hot. Only 700 views in 3 months, but hey, it was good. Basically talking through a lot of that stuff. So kind of the overall trends associated to the marketplace. All right, so 2 questions here from Carson. Uh, how does how does the wonderful patient lady, aka my wife, deal with the issue of me being on my computer? She understands. She understands I'm on a mission to build a company, and she understands that it takes a lot of work to do so. So for us, the time that we spend together is quality over quantity. So it's not marriage is better than it's ever been. It's only getting better. Um, Another question is also, what are your thoughts about global government and big tech investment in AI? It's a big question, Carson. If you can you ask a more specific question in relation to that theme, and I can try to give my opinion. Small language models. So NVIDIA said that the future is small language models, is from programming Siri. Uh, I mean, maybe any prediction is likely wrong, but could be directionally accurate. My guess is that NVIDIA has that opinion because they would benefit. My guess is they would benefit more from smaller models. And small is relative, right? So in the past, a small model was a few million parameters. Right now, a small model is like 8 billion parameters. So the definition of small will change over time as these models get bigger and bigger. And also, it'll change based off of the compute and hardware that can house the different size models and different types of devices. All right, bathroom break. I'll be back. Oh, question. Recently, here in the UK, lots of announcements for data centers built out, including announcements about Netscape, Trump state visit. Huh. Not really a question, more of a point. So you're saying that a lot of data centers are being built in the UK? Makes sense. I mean, there's data centers being built in Dubai and America and all other places. Okie dokie. That's one done. So we've updated the to-dos. Go to the next one. I would usually do more extensive testing on this stuff, but since this is just a little app for myself, I'm not gonna waste all the time with testing. We'll just wait until the end and be disappointed with a broken application and then fix it. Which is usually how it works. Let's see if anything's changed. Nothing changed there. All right, gang. I'm probably gonna stick around for another 15 to 20 minutes, and then after that, I'm gonna peace out. So if you have any less questions, you can ask them. This might be the first and final time I do a live stream. But I hope you enjoyed it. This was enjoyable for me. It's always nice to talk to people while I build stuff. Do I watch AI content on YouTube? Which ones? I actually do a lot of reading. I do watch YouTube content, but it's usually not oriented towards AI, and if it is, it's usually a podcast or a presentation. So, Latent Space is a good podcast I listen to, which has a derivative conference called AI Engineer. So I AI Engineer Summit. Some things I watch presentations there. If there are things shared on X that maybe I see, I'll watch. But most of the time, it's reading blogs, reading actual documentation and blog like articles from the providers. But I don't really watch many tutorials associated to AI. I usually just do a lot of my learning hands-on and reading. And I appreciate you, Carson. I appreciate you watching, brother. So is there a way that we can test this for real? So no mock data, no unit tests, but I want to see if there's a way that we can really test this functionality to ensure that it works as we expect it to. Any thoughts on AI avatars or on others who use them? AI avatars. I've actually not spent much time in that space. So I mean, I've created a deep fake version of myself a while back when HeyGen was released. So the company HeyGen, they do a pretty good job at creating real life avatars of people. Um, but I've not created. Yeah, I'm not much of the artiste. I'm more of a utilitarian. A lot of the stuff that I work on is focused on uh, progressing something forward instead of doing it just out of interest or fun, which says a lot about me. But I do think, Carson, there's going to be a weird future where we have a lot of AI boyfriends and girlfriends, a lot of uh, a lot of the birthing decline will probably continue, where we have less and less people having babies because AI is easier to fall in love with. All right, last 10 minutes. We'll go to a 412. 412. We're gonna stop. Any questions? Questions, thoughts, feedback? We're down to 12 people. I think we peaked. I think we peaked at like 22, 23 people watching at any given time. And then we had like an average around 17-ish. 17 people on average, 23-ish max. Question from Programming Siri. What do you think about GPT wrapper apps and startups? Um, I think that GPT wrapper apps have like a negative annotation or connotation towards them, but I do think there is some value depending on the type of app that's built. And oftentimes, like depending on the person you're speaking to, they can say that Cursor is a GPT wrapper because it is a wrapper around the base model, but it's a very valuable company that's created a lot of value for developers and also other companies. So yeah, I think there's a lot of value in it. You just need to choose the right vertical you want to build an application in, solve a problem that people are actually having, and yeah, I think it's completely doable. Most AI companies are quote unquote wrappers around other model providers. Uh, Another question from Faraz: do you have any concerns regarding AI security? Um, yeah, I mean, well, I feel like I have a lot of concerns around security, but I don't know if there are many that make me not like sleep well at night. Are there specific questions you have in relation to AI security you want to ask about? I'm not like a super duper expert, but I have a pretty good understanding of security and AI, so maybe I can help out. All right, I think I'm gonna call it there, team. So I appreciate all 14 of you for watching. I know that we peaked at 23, which is cool. 23 people willing to hang out with me live.